G'day, I'm Dr. Tim Carey. I'm a controller, and so are you. Control matters. This short story is called Controlling Students. Just suppose a 10-year-old child was sent by his teacher to the school's withdrawal room. And let's further suppose that the school principal was the person staffing the room at the time. When the child entered the room, it could happen that the principal asked, "What are you here for?" And it's also within the realm of possibilities that the child might reply with, "I'm never going to tell you." Before we go on to discover the edge of your seat ending to this tale, let's pause to consider the dynamics up to this point. Clearly, the teacher's act of directing the child to the room was intentional. In other words, the teacher, for whatever reason, wanted the child to leave the class and transport himself to the withdrawal room. And, just as clearly, the principal's enquiry as to why the child came to be standing in the doorway of the withdrawal room was intentional. So, the teacher wanted something, to see the child move from one room to another, and the principal wanted something, to have the child speak to her about certain events. While it's very plain that the teacher and the principal wanted certain things, what often gets overlooked is the fact that the child also wanted certain things. We can assume fairly safely that for the child to move from one room to another, he must have wanted for that to happen. And for the child to answer the principal in the way that he did, he must have wanted to keep certain information from her. So, if we press the play button once more, we will discover that the principal indicated the desk the student should sit at, and the student sat there. Then, the principal asked the student again, "What happened?" To which the student repeated, "I'm never going to tell you." Over the next 40 minutes or so, the principal returned to the student on a further 4 or 5 occasions, asked the same question, and received the same reply. With each return trip, however, the child became more irritated and annoyed. This increasing irritation eventuated in the child swearing and yelling, with the ultimate outcome being that the child's parent was called with a request that the child spend the rest of the day at home. Is that an ideal outcome? Could a different outcome have been achieved? To answer these questions, we would need to consider the perspectives of the players involved. Ideal from whose perspective? The teacher wanted the child out of his class, so he got what he wanted. Perhaps though he had imagined that the child would only visit the withdrawal room for a short period of time and then return to class. So maybe he didn't get everything he wanted. We would need to ask him to be sure. The principal didn't find out the reason for the child appearing at the withdrawal room, so she didn't get what she wanted. And, to make matters worse, she then played a role in creating a bunch of other things that she probably didn't want to have happen, such as being yelled and sworn at and having to process a request for a child to be sent home. The child moved himself from the classroom to the withdrawal room, so he got what he wanted there. He also maintained his stance of not telling the principal what happened, so he got what he wanted there. Holding his line on this position, though, had the consequence of becoming upset and angry, so perhaps he didn't get all of what he wanted. He did spend the rest of the day at home, however, so maybe he got what he wanted there as well. We would need to ask him to be sure. It is certainly the case that sometimes in life we don't get all of what we want. When this occurs, how can we make a bad situation better, or at least not make it any worse? One simple solution would have been for the child to simply tell the principal what she wanted to hear. Equally simply though, the principal could have respected the child's wish to remain silent. It is easy to attribute the escalation of the interaction to the child and his increasingly ferocious outbursts. However, a more accurate and nuanced understanding is that the unpleasantness of this situation was jointly created by both the principal and the child. To put it simply, the principal had a goal for the child to say something, and the child had a goal not to say it. If a child continually asked an adult for something, we might say that the child was pestering or nagging the adult. So, perhaps it is reasonable to suggest that the principal was using a pestering or nagging strategy to convince the child to adopt a different goal. The strategy didn't work, but the principal didn't seem to consider another approach, with the consequence being that the child missed out on a day's education and the principal missed out on getting the information she wanted. A key to building more satisfying interactions from a foundation of respectful relationships is to recognize that both of the people who are interacting are built the same way. Even a little baby is organized the same way as the parent who is cuddling her. In schools, both teachers and students are the same kind of creature. One has been around for longer than the other, but they both have goal states that they are compelled to maintain. Life, in fact, is a process of tending to the goal states that are defining of who we are. This process of keeping our goals in the states we prefer is called control, and we all do it. Perhaps if the principal had paused to consider that the child in front of her was doing the same thing she was doing, controlling, there might have been a different ending to the script. Nagging people to change a goal state that they're currently nurturing or protecting rarely works. Finding out about the goal state, how it clicks into place with other goal states in their personal mosaic, and how it's helping them live the life they want will help understand their perspective. From a position of greater understanding, the best way forward is much likely to be clearer. Finding out about another person's controlling propensities certainly takes time. It also takes time dealing with the aftermath of conflicted controllers. Perhaps the greatest irony is that helping other people control better ultimately enables us to control better as well. So, what do you think about that? Bye for now.